So, good evening and welcome back to the second session of this month where we learn about how to connect with our feminine side in the most healthy manner. And after giving you a couple of exercises last week, we want to talk about different attributes of feminine energy within oneself. And to begin with, today we want to discuss about the the attributes of unhealthy feminine energy, or when there is hurt about being a feminine, being a woman, how does that impact our life? We want to discuss that first so that again, till next week, you get another opportunity to find any particular things which you need to look at. And next week, we will learn about the healthy feminine attributes in our life and we'll bring it to completion. Right, Priya? You want to add anything over here? Fine. So, when we talk about feminine energy as compared to the masculine energy, if we want to understand it, if masculine is about doing, feminine is about being. So, that's how I think last week we spoke about being with yourself, holding space to be whichever way you are in a moment. That is the first base of feminine way of living. That's the ground. Being, and in that, then there are many actions which are uh, feminine, they can appear. Yeah. So, Priya, would you like to take forward from you?
Um, so when we talk of the aspects of being which are unhealthy, that's actually thought provoking, because sometimes we don't even realize that this could be an unhealthy way of holding space for our own selves, and sometimes it becomes like a way of life. Uh, for example, at a time like we discussed the last time, in a place when you're holding space for your emotions and you find yourself uh, applying logic even in that space of being, you're not doing anything, but in your head you are applying logic to reduce the emotional pain or to hold the emotion better. Now we don't realize that that is not healthy. We think, oh, it's a way of thinking and I'm trying to analyze so that I can, I can see to it that I avoid it in the future or this doesn't happen. I'm not saying that applying logic is wrong. I'm saying that it's not a healthy way to be when you're holding space for your emotions. So, one of the attributes is in your being also, do you allow yourself to be and experience the emotion without coming to conclusions or any kind of blame or any kind of uh, logical explanation as to why something is happening. Now, that's not an action. That's not per se an action, but it's an action in your thoughts. And that doesn't serve the feminine. So, one of the ways that we have seen is just allowing yourself to feel that emotion completely, which happens most times in therapy sessions. You just say, feel it without applying a logic to it at that moment, feel it. And then something else will come up. And then maybe a logic will kick in, or then maybe some feeling, the next feeling will arise, or a deeper layer to that emotion might come up. And that's how the flow of the feminine happens. Yeah. Yes, Gayatri.
Yeah. Also, there are times, there are places where we really need to just feel our emotions. And in that moment, we are not saying logic is not useful, or using logic means wounded or unhealthy feminine. But in the moment when you need to feel your emotion, if you try to put in logic, that's when it is not going to serve you. That's when it is going to take you away from being with yourself or feeling your emotion. So, logic has its own place. But when you are supposed to feel your emotion, when you are supposed to, uh, let it move through your system, in
Yeah.
that moment, sitting and analyzing and trying to put the dots together, that will not help. That's what we need to say. So, not being able to differentiate between when and how much logic to put in when I'm allowing my emotions to surface, that is a wounded or unhealthy feminine energy. I think the next on the ground of being able to hold space for yourself or just being is the boundary, because when you are uh, holding space for yourself, one thing that happens is, mm, unintentionally your boundary becomes so weak that you continue to be there for others more than expected or more than necessary. And you are not only processing your own emotions, but you are taking on another person's or other people's energies, their emotions, which they are not recognizing or acknowledging, because now you have gotten into the cycle of processing the emotions. So, you know, it is about balance. If you are allowing your emotion and you are not allowing the logic to disturb it, at the same time allowing the emotion to be processed, to be felt for yourself, not for others. So not going that end of the spectrum is also very important. So one of the attributes of unhealthy feminine is the boundary. Now the boundary can be seen when it is unhealthy, where you say yes in places where you want to say no, or you say yes without thinking about yourself, and later on you think that you overserved or you overgave. So giving too much is also an unhealthy attribute of feminine, because healthy feminine knows how to ask for what she needs or wants and how to receive. Right, Priya?
Yes. Yes. So that actually takes me to the third and one important aspect of the feminine is when you know your boundary, and when any person, I'm not even saying a female, but even a male knows the boundary and knows the difference between self and non-self, then the next important aspect is uh, competition, or uh, kind of jealousy, or a kind of I'm less, you're more, or you're less, I'm more. So that is something which a healthy feminine, uh, may not do or knows, and an unhealthy feminine, because she doesn't know the concept of boundaries, or the person is not able to differentiate between what is self and not self, might feel not enough, might feel uh, not worthy, not able to ask, giving more than receiving. And hence, there could be that I receive less and someone else receives more. and the competition, and a kind of an envy or a jealousy might start creeping. So, this is very subtle, and a very important aspect of the feminine is either holding too tight boundaries or too loose boundaries. And in both the cases, when the boundaries are very tight, it's like a defense. And when the boundaries are very loose, it's like the sense of self is not there. And in both cases, it might lead to comparison, it might lead to competition, it might lead to envy, and it might lead to jealousy. Yeah. Yeah, Gayatri?
Yeah. In fact, insecurity can be measured in the same way, because
Yes.
in comparison there is insecurity. So envy, jealousy, insecurity, these are the uh, emotions which an unhealthy feminine displays. Because again,
Or fear.
the next, yeah, even fear, the next attribute gets linked to this, that she does not know how to nurture herself and how to nurture another person. Again, I'm using the word she, but I'm not defining a female gender with this, any person for that matter. When they do not know how to nurture their own self, how to take care of their own needs, and how to nurture others, then in the background, somewhere the comparison, fear, or jealousy would be there. So, you know, going into any particular end and living from there, like Priya said, that holding the boundary too tight or not being able to hold your boundary at all, both are unhealthy. So we need to look at on the spectrum with every attribute. How much are we standing in healthy feminine energy and how much we are not? And how can we bring the balance? So for that you need to start writing these attributes, and for next 1 week we want you to start observing your interactions with your environment, so that you start noticing that which are your blind spots on this ground. So that is
The,
one
yeah.
thing. Also,
And the
an unhealthy feminine will have a lot of ideas, but would not know how to execute them, because execution is again action oriented, direction oriented, which is a masculine attribute. So that is missing. So overly feminine energy would give you lots of ideas, but you do not know how to put them into action, how to direct them towards a particular goal to achieve it. So if you find yourself, falling into any of this, then start recognizing where on the scale of, you know, uh, masculine, feminine balance do you fall. Yeah, Priya, you were adding something.
Yeah, and the intention of sharing these attributes of unhealthy feminine or wounded feminine is not that sense of judgment, but from a sense of awareness. So, the intention is not to make ourselves or anyone feel bad about being a particular way, but once it comes into awareness, is when you can, or anyone can, start moving towards something healthy, right? It's as simple as, unless I don't know that this is I'm operating from a wounded place, how will I even turn it into something healthy, right? So please hold compassion when you're doing this exercise for yourself. There is no and that's exactly why the reason why we took holding space as the first webinar, because now that you know how to hold space for yourself, if anything comes up where you feel that this is from a wounded place, please hold space for that also, because only then will you reach a space of healing In the next webinar, when we talk of healthy feminine and how to create it, the ground will get created for that. So please do not beat yourself up if you did not know that this is something that I have been operating from. Yeah.
And
I'm
I'm
sure
very,
Gayatri and I also have learned like that only.
yeah.
So we know this space. So hold yourself in compassion. Yeah, Gayatri, you were saying.
Yeah, in fact, holding space for yourself or being compassionate is also a feminine attribute. So, in that process, also, you will start honoring your feminine energy. And it is obvious for you to find many, you know, mm, many places maybe where you would find more of a masculine energy where it is not needed. Because in a traumatic situation, the way our mind works is coping by logic. And for us, for the mind, when something that happened is not fitting in the logic, that's when it gets stuck in our system. So trying to put lot of logic to not what happened, but to the emotion. That's how mind copes. So unnecessary or overly logical and analytical tendencies is one of the ways we have coped up with our life, with our traumatic situations. So it is going to be natural for you to, find such places in your journey. So please be compassionate with yourself, because this is just a beginning, and we all need to make sure that when there are things which are going to surface, which are significant for you, but maybe you won't be able to put that into words for other people, for them to hold space for you. So this 1 week, you will be required to hold space for yourself even more and be compassionate with yourself, because you have done your best with the knowledge that you had back then. Today, you are going to do something more or something new with the new found knowledge that you have. So, I think
Um,
these are the attributes, right? Is there something
yeah,
more?
I just got present to one more thing. It came up in a discussion today in a Reiki batch that we had. That a masculine also has a sense of control, and in a healthy manner, and a feminine also has a sense of control in a healthy manner. But what is the difference? The masculine controls by action, and the feminine controls by knowing, because there is faith. So there are certain things that you already know, and you say, that's how I know it, and that's the. And when I say control here, I'm not talking of power or authority. I'm talking of a way to be in control of a situation, like you are in charge of a situation. So a feminine way of control, in that, if I can't use a better word, I don't know of a better word, that's why I'm using control, is knowing. And a masculine way is action. Yeah. So when we say motherly instinct, a mother just knows, right? But a father has to do. And here again, I'm not talking of gender, I'm talking of energies. So even a male having a knowing about something and saying, I know it, it's a feminine attribute. Yeah. So a wounded feminine will want to be in charge of control in terms of action. Like I need to be in control by doing. Yeah.
Also, a wounded feminine uses her strength or the power of knowing to manipulate situations
Yeah.
and people. So, manipulation comes from there. There is insecurity. So, let me use my knowing, my abilities to manipulate someone into doing something or for a situation to turn according to my wish. So, knowingly, unknowingly, wherever we manipulate, if we start catching ourselves, that's the beginning of taking a U turn from there. Sometimes we go so far, some people go so far in manipulation that they manipulate themselves in believing that this is not manipulation, right? And most of us are doing it unknowingly, unintentionally, and as soon as they notice it, they would want to drop it because their energy or their uh, consciously they have not gone into so much of control yet. They were unconscious about it. So the moment you will acknowledge certain wounded attributes, you will be able to drop them. Certain
Okay.
other attributes you may need deeper work because that has become a conditioning over a period of all these years in your life. So hold space for yourself. That's all. So I think that's what we have to share with you all today. Let's discuss this further.